Hi, how are you doing? This is Pastor Cheryl. Um, we are doing the sending out of the 12 today. And this is when Jesus had sent his disciples out. And it was more than 12. There was close to 70 that he sent out. And so I wanted you to see that this is Matthew, who did his homework. Mark. Luke was kind of blank, and then here's another Luke, but it says a very important sentence here that you'll want to read. So I will write all this down for you. I will write it down, and you could just look it up. So I'll read Matthew. And Jesus went about all the cities. This is Matthew 9:35, 10, 16. And the villages, teaching their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every infirmity. And he saw the crowds, had compassion of them, because they were harassed. Make a point to that, harassed. He's the only one of the three that use that word. And helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Now, I don't know what sheep are like, because I've never been around them. I've just heard things about sheep. And it says, and he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Now, Mark kind of reiterates this, but Luke 10, 1 through 2 says, after the Lord appointed 70 others and sent them on ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to come. There were 70 of them. And then there's a gap. These gaps mystify me. And he said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Now, I went to Drew University Theological School, Madison, New Jersey. Very prestigious school. Highly, highly accredited. They're very hoity-toity over there. Anyway, 60% of our student body were women. And back then, it was like 30 years ago. And I imagine things have changed. They said that the men will be able to find positions as pastors, but the women will not. And they didn't know what they were going to do with themselves, being housewives or something. And I thought, well, I'll find a position. I'll do something. I'll find something to do. And, people just seem, when I got home from seminary, other pastors seemed to think I should just get married and have kids. And that's not in the cards, That was just not in the cards. I had a boyfriend at seminary who married someone else, married a friend. And he was quite the character and would make everybody laugh. And I remember his name was Bernd Weishaupt. What a name, huh? And you should have, the comments he would say, everybody would laugh and laugh at him. He was so funny. And it's true that the women that went to seminary were absolutely brilliant. They pulled straight A's. They were brilliant. And the men were kind of C-average students. But the churches wanted men, clergy people. And you wonder whatever happened to those good quality, brilliant clergymen. Well, they probably just thought, that they wouldn't get paid well enough to be a minister. Certainly not to support a family. So they did something else. They were doing something else. And so it was mostly the women that were brilliant and the men that were C-average. And so, I often wondered about Barrett too, because really, he was kind of a C-average type guy, but he had a lot of personality. He had quite the personality. And he died young. And it was sad. It was some sort of a error on the hospital's part. He had a stent or something put in and passed away. Anyway, I think this is interesting here. The word harassed is the only one that uses it. And that's kind of the little fill thing that Matthew does. And our church is being harassed by our neighbors. And they don't like we get some homeless people that go down there and camp. We're going to see more of that in the future, by the way. If the economy goes downhill, we're going to see more homelessness. People will be camping all over. I kind of anticipate that, and it would be a sad thing. There'll be a lot of Christians who will be taking them in because it's the right thing to do. And so you'll see households, just a house just full of people. Because you take them in. Of course, you'll take them in. Relatives and cousins and your other neighbors who lose their homes. Yeah, you'll see that. And I've done that. Been there. Done that. And so anyway, we are getting harassed right by our neighbor, like across the alley. And whenever anything happens in the garden, I know who did it. And I have to write up a police report because it's the right thing to do. And we went down there Sunday, and we had a sign saying, "This is God's house." And he made it with his own hands, and someone took the sign and pulled it off the tree, threw it down. And then we saw that, walked further into the garden, that we saw, we had a lot of water bottles for our guests. And half of them were all over the lawn and empty. And then they took the chair, the preacher's chair that I usually sit in, and replaced it with a child's chair. Well, just by that, I know who did it. I know who did it. He can't fool me. And so I just made like I didn't know, and I just let them say, well, we had kind of a strange thing that happened in the garden this past weekend, so I just wrote up a police report on it. Let the cops figure it out. That should make them good nervous, right? Anything that happens in there, I write up a police report. Because this guy that does these things, I'm convinced he's dangerous. And then further up the hill, there's a fellow who said, on the other corner, he says, well, I chased several homeless people out of your garden for you this week. Like he's doing me a favor. I feel sorry for the homeless. I'm really not offended that they go to the back table and sit there. I'm not offended by that. They have to go somewhere. They have no place to go. And the shelters are absolutely full. In fact, they've got people sleeping all over the lawn because they don't have enough beds inside. Yeah, that's what it's like. There, coffee. Last a little bit. And so, the sign that was pulled off the tree, I was just going to touch it up and put it back up there with a lot of spray varnish because it was all crackled, and then I scraped it and then the paint came off, so I repainted it. I repainted it with something that would make them happy. And I also called up my lawyer's office. But I painted it, and it's over there in the corner, and it says Garden Rules. No drugs, no drinking, no camping, no loud parties, hours, sun up to sundown. Well, that kind of does it. And so if they want to call the cops on these people that are doing something illegal, then, yeah, then they can call the cops on them after dark. There is a city ordinance, believe it or not, in Davenport with a are against people putting up a tent. Believe it or not, you can't put up a tent in the city of Davenport. When I was a kid, my dad was a Boy Scout leader, and we had a bunch of little tents for the Boy Scouts, and we used to put these tents, pop them up. They were pop-up tents out in our backyard and camp outside at night. We had fun. You can't do that in the city of Davenport. You know, it's illegal. It's crazy. But anyway, think about my crazy neighbors, and I will have to get back with my lawyer. You know, I even got a call back from his secretary, and I was explaining it to her, and I said, you know, they had erased the road with Google Maps. They actually erased the road on Google Maps. And so I discovered how to put it back in and built a web page on Google Maps. So now we are on the map. So anyway, that is something to consider because there's so few out there. The harvest is plentiful and there's so few workers. You know, we just need more clergy people. We just need more workers. And so that's why I'm continuing to do this. I'll be, this week I'll be 71. No point in retiring. We have the rapture coming up. This is important. You know, I'm getting kind of daffy in the head, but I have to continue. I have to continue because, you know, this is an important thing to do. This is important. The rapture is going to happen. Christ is coming back. We got to get on the ball. I will see you. Sure. Bye-bye.